During my quest to gain weight after years of extreme food aversion, not letting one day of falling short turn into a pattern of failure has become crucial, and I knew the unavoidable would happen. I get sick. Whether it was food poisoning or a virus, I don't know, but halfway through Sunday, I started feeling off. And on Monday, I ate just 280 calories, not even 10% of my goal. Breaking my daily calorie streak is normally an excuse to fall back into old habits, and then it turns into a month of not tracking or hitting my calorie goal. I can't see physical illness as ruining my streak. Instead, it's just part of the process, and I have to learn to bounce back. On Tuesday, I ate 1,400 calories, but knew I needed to get back up to 3,000 as fast as possible. If I can do it, this would be the quickest I've ever recovered from an illness. So instead of using sick as an excuse to give up and maybe try this again next month, as I used to always do, I began to focus on calories as soon as I woke up. Now, many people, like even normal appetite people, still don't enjoy stuffing their mouths first thing in the morning. Like a lot of you will get a tea or a coffee and you don't eat until lunchtime. I personally used to just grab a soda for energy and water for hydration, but nowadays I immediately get caloric. This is a totally regular milkshake. No mix-ins like protein or mass gainer, not even any nuts or yogurt, just ice cream, milk, sprinkles for crunch, and syrup, blended together for 722 calories. However, I did scoop some creatine immediately after, which was chased with water, and I do drink a lot of water. I just don't mention it in the videos since it's 0 calorie and not really relevant. Next up was broccoli, and at just 35 calories per cup, I would have to eat 85 cups of broccoli to hit my caloric goal in one day. In other words, an entire plate of broccoli is hardly 1% of my daily calories, even though it's physically a lot of food. But I like broccoli, so I ate it. Not optimizing everything that goes in me has been surprisingly useful during this whole experience, even though it sounds counterintuitive, and I'm going to go more in depth on this in an upcoming video. Another food that'll be its own video is oil. I don't know if oil is a food, but the oil of the day came from avocados, and I just drink it. Boom, avocado oil down the hatch. It's so crazy to me that a teeny tiny shot of oil is the equivalent to an entire Taco Bell taco in calories. Hard taco, 170 calories. 1.5 tablespoons of oil, 195 calories. Even if you can eat a taco in just a few bites, which I cannot, the sheer volume of food it takes to match oil is just crazy. It's like pure refined calories. And that was my breakfast, spread out over an hour of 890 calories. A little while after, I made mashed potatoes with bacon, cheese, milk, and butter. Today, I fully drained the bacon grease. I oftentimes just like dump it on top of the potatoes, but I didn't want to re-upset my stomach. Also, I already drank oil, so yeah, no extra grease. But I didn't actually finish the whole bowl of potatoes, so I weighed what I did not eat, and then I subtract it from the calories. And at just 500 calories, progress feels kind of slow, I guess. Like, I go through the effort of prepping all these ingredients, cutting, boiling, air frying, mashing, seasoning, for just 15% of my calories for the day. But it slowly but surely, I'm getting it down. So I ate it with a Fanta, and shortly after, I followed it with 3 cups of whole milk for 450 calories. Now I want to go deeper into bouncing back after being thrown off track. Letting my sickness affect me longer than my body actually needs to recover is a very bad habit that I'm breaking for the first time, and once again, it's because of the same guy I talked about in my 10 pounds gained video. Today, I'll dedicate just a quick couple minutes instead of half the video to Alex Hormozy, but I have to talk about it because it's the reason I am able to make this video, and it comes down to what he calls mental toughness. It's a chart you can plot yourself, or kind of anyone you know on relatively easily, and doing so helped me introspect and understand where I can improve in different areas. And the fun part is there's no beating or acing the chart. It's more like a benchmark you can set, similarly to how many push-ups you can do. You can always improve, be it more push-ups, better form, or you increase the progression of push-up, and you should compare solely to yourself over time, not compare to what others are capable of. But instead of physical strength, this is focused on mental strength. And the first thing on the chart is tolerance. When something bad happens, how bad does it have to be, and how long does it have to last to throw you off your personal baseline? Basically, how much discomfort can you handle emotionally? Or as Alex puts it, how long is your fuse? Once you hit your limit and you're thrown off, how is your fortitude? How far do you fall, and how deeply are you affected by aversive stimuli? Then there's resilience. How long does it take you to lift yourself back up from this low point? And finally, adaptability. Can you recover to where you were before this experience? If no, and you're permanently worse off than before, you might describe this experience as traumatic. Or do you recover fully? Basically back to your original baseline as if nothing ever happened. Or best case scenario, do you end up better or stronger than you were before it happened? This would be high adaptability. I love this chart because it can be applied to any experience, no matter how big or small. Like an extreme example, which is actually the one that inspired Hermosi to make this video on mental toughness, was the unexpected death of a loved one. Or in the scenario this week, my tummy ache. My tolerance ended when my stomach was no longer digesting food properly. That's when I fell 90% away from my baseline of 3,000 calories a day to less than 300 calories. It took me 2 days to recover, and I ended up back to my exact same baseline of 3,000 calories. This is a huge improvement from a year ago, where I would have fallen more like 99%, like I wouldn't have eaten anything during this time, and I would have taken an excessive number of days, if not weeks, to feel like I can start eating the same amount again out of fear of making myself sick again. Then, once I finally do, I lower my expectations and stop striving to eat as much as I had before. Basically, I just give up on the goal. And so any time in my life before 2026, in the case of sickness affecting my eating habits specifically, I would say that I had average tolerance, extremely low fortitude, extremely low resilience, and extremely low adaptability. But today, my personal mental toughness in the context of recovering from sickness, I would say average tolerance, low fortitude, average resilience, and average adaptability. Even though I still fall far at first, that's a lot of Fs. When I get sick, I recover in a reasonable amount of time and back to where I was before. Literal examples of when I've reflected on this chart were when I lost a friend, when my income dropped, when a project failed, and when a pet died. This chart doesn't at all inhibit you from experiencing negative emotion or missing something you lost or feeling regret. It's simply all about the recovery and how you react to it. It's about what you do from the point of impact and onwards. And it breaks recovery down in a way that lets me see each aspect as a psychological muscle that I can stretch, train, and grow over time. Things that I actually do have control over. The point is not to avoid discomfort or pain, or to numb yourself from emotion, but to recover from a negative situation efficiently and come out better than you entered it. If you think this is as interesting as I do, I'll link Alex's 2 videos where he goes more in depth in the description. But let's get back to food, because that is, So halfway through the day, I was feeling pretty good. In spite of feeling sick, I was already 2/3 done for the day, so I felt like I could chill for a little bit, do some other stuff, not think about food until later in the day. But it snuck up on me, and the dread was present. I was not feeling cooking or eating, and I was going to leave the house, which it was going to make it an even bigger pain. My motivation was on the floor, but there was just enough there to try and keep my calorie streak going. So I brought with me a water bottle, a bag of jerky, and a Feastables. They really are better than Hershey's. Plus, I like supporting local North Carolinian business. The jerky, though small and just 240 calories, had a whopping 45 grams of protein, so that was nice for that macro. And the Feastables is mostly sugar and fat, which hit me with 320 calories in 1 bar. Though I have to say, I really did force these. Like, as small as they are, even just breaking off small pieces of chocolate took me forever to finish. I nibbled on both until they were eventually gone, which was over the course of the entire couple hours I wasn't home. When I did get home, I threw an extra cup of milk on top for another 150 calories, but midnight was rapidly approaching. In the meantime, even though it takes as much as an extra half hour a day probably, I try to clean the whole kitchen and prepare everything for the next morning the night before so that I can wake up and be like, oh wow, yesterday me laid everything out all perfectly for today me. A lot of people ask why I don't spruce up some of these foods, like add literally anything to my white rice. I know I won't be beating any autism allegations with this, but the simpler a food is, the easier it is to eat sometimes. It's simply less sensation and therefore less noticeable and less bothersome. I can mindlessly graze on a bowl of white rice while at my computer, and though it's a slow process, eventually the bowl emptied, and I was just 85 calories away from 3,000. And the final touch of calories before bed is something that supposedly isn't good for your sleep. Admittedly, many of my nights are ended with just a little splash of alcohol. As of writing this video, I'm enjoying a Southern Peach Jack Daniels, but today was between a Mike's Harder Lemonade, which comes in at 400 calories per can, or a White Claw. But since I'm already nearly at my calorie goal and I wasn't feeling anything too flavorful, I settled on a Blackberry White Claw at 100 calories, which I drank in bed. I'm not saying brushing your teeth, getting in bed, and then drinking sugary drinks or alcohol is a good thing, but this video is a journal and not a tutorial. So today, as you may have noticed, I had no actual meals, no traditional multi-course meals. The closest thing was a bowl of mashed potatoes with bacon, but even that's more of a side dish at best. And realizing I can achieve any caloric number I want without a single real meal really eases my anxiety and gives me a sense of freedom and flexibility that helps me avoid giving up on the goal. I was in the headspace the entire day that I didn't want to eat, but it was proof to myself that I have actually progressed a lot from a year ago, when this headspace would have resulted in just 500 or 600 calories being begrudgingly forced down. Instead, I essentially had 6 snacks, sort of, and yet I still managed not just 3,000 calories, but also 150 grams of protein, which included veggies, starches, and meats. Like, it's not like I was just eating potato chips all day. Not to mention, I only had 4 cups of milk, which for me is actually a smaller amount compared to my usual 6 cups of milk. And I relied on 0 meal replacement shakes, 0 gainer powders, and I knew I could comfortably drink more milk if I had to. Like, I sort of had an emergency ration of about 2 more cups of milk that I could comfortably drink if needed. I can also comfortably take 2 oil shots per day instead of just the 1 that I had today. And I do have meal replacement shakes on hand if necessary. I kind of think of them as like a first aid kit of emergency calories. Today was also an ice cream free day. I know milkshakes are mostly ice cream, but recently I've been having a milkshake plus around 700 calories in either Bluebell or Ben & Jerry's, but I took a break from that today. The one downside of this routine is it was time consuming. Preparing and eating all these tiny dishes is simply not efficient. I eat super slow and I didn't get much else done, but efficiency is not the goal right now. I do weigh myself every day. On the scale, I lost 4 pounds from these couple days. Most of this was probably water weight since I did get pretty dehydrated, and you can't really burn fat or muscle that fast unless you like lit yourself on fire. As of writing, I'm back up to 120 pounds, and as of narrating this video, which is about a week after writing it, I'm now at a new all-time high of 123 pounds, so we're back on track. I would have to give myself a passing grade on the test of how do I react and recover when forced to take a rest from my goals because my tummy hurt. If you enjoy these videos, I'll link the full Herp Gains playlist in the description, and if you want to talk to me directly about this or anything else, you can always join the Discord server where I'm active 365 days a year.